sent out. Get our bot in here, and finally get our Discord taken care of. So, hello everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and I should probably walk on screen. And this is April. Threw off my whole rhythm. Let me start over. Hello everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is April 2nd, and this is the April 2nd TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be doing that option menu and audio fixes. Specifically, we're going to be fixing the VSync option in the game because it's not really there. It technically works, but there are a couple of things on the back end that I need to do to make it actually function properly. And we are also going to be fixing some problems that I have with audio in the main menu, specifically audio from the scene being listened for in the main menu because of how Fmod works. Um, I need to have the appropriate component to listen to Fmod sounds on my scene cameras, and I don't currently. So whenever we open up a scene in the background for the main menu, there are a couple of errors that get thrown, basically saying that you can't play an Fmod sound without an Fmod listener. So we're gonna set up the system to take care of that basically. So that's gonna be mostly coding related today. I guess technically it would be audio too. I guess. So I'm gonna put those both on there. And yeah. So quick update before I get going. As you can probably hear, my voice is much better than it used to be. There's still a little bit of sickness in me, but for the most part, I am back to like 90% ish. So I am hopefully going to be able to do the entire, normal 2 hour stream that we usually do. But we'll see. We might end up cutting out about an hour and a half, maybe an hour if it gets really bad. I haven't actually talked for a sustained amount of time since I got back and stopped being deathly ill. But I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to do my normal dev stream times. So we'll see. Mostly I regret that I did not bring my tissue box with me. Well, I'll just hope that I don't have to sniffle too much. Okay, so to give you a sense of where we are currently, main thing that I want to do to start is just to fix the display options menu so that our VSync option works properly. And all that's going to really amount to is options to display. We basically just have to set it up so that when we turn VSync on, our frame rate automatically gets set to unlimited because at that point, if VSync is on, the application is being forced to match the frame rate, the frame refresh rate of your monitor. I could turn VSync on to three distinct stages, off, on, and then on every other. I'll probably rename the labels a little bit. But essentially, you can force it to sync with every vertical frame or every other vertical frame, and every other vertical frame halves your frame rate. Basically, it sets the refresh to be half of what your monitor can do by default, which is an option. I've never used that because the frame rate reduction is so extreme, but I'm sure that there is some reason for it. But because I've never really used it, I figured it would probably be better just to have VSync be on or off. That keeps things a little more simple. So it's either going to be every vertical frame, not at all. And if it's on, then frame rate needs to be hard set to unlimited and needs to become uninteractable while VSync is on. So that's basically the state of this menu, and those are the changes that we have to make. So it's not really anything major. It's just mostly going to be a workflow adjustment. So let's go ahead and real quick, I'm going to open up my UI object. We can turn all of these things off for now. And I'm going to grab my options. Let's see. So we have view, display options. That's what I want. Okay, we're going to go ahead and come up here, put this on, go to the root. It's a little awkward. I've been so at work we're migrating several projects over to 2018.3, which has the new like prefab workflow. So it's fun going back and forth between the old prefab workflow and the new prefab workflow because the new one is fairly different and has a couple of shortcomings that I don't really like, but I understand why they had to do those things. Anyway, so to get started, we're going to go ahead and open up our script here. And essentially, all we're really going to have to do is when VSync gets toggled on, we're going to automatically set our refresh or our frame rate lock to be 0, and then refresh the label and basically make it so that it can't be interacted with. Um, okay, so we are going to go down to here, apply, cancel, update settings, next resolution, frame rate clicked. Okay, so -1? That's odd. Why would I make it -1 and not 0? Huh. Okay. Strange. I kind of feel like I should have that be 0. Okay. Whatever. So we're going to go ahead and save that. We're going to go here to on VSync clicked. All right. And what we want to do here. This. Okay. Yeah. So when we click VSync on, we're just going to say if VSync is equal to 1, which means that it's on, we are going to say basically this. So we're going to copy this, paste that. We're going to set that to be 0. And we're going to just, I guess, hard set this to actually say unlimited. Okay. And so here we also need to turn the interactivity of that button off, which is kind of annoying. So actually for now I'm going to let this go ahead and recompile. I don't actually think I need to change anything, by the way, in terms of the prefab. I might add a reference to our frame rate label. Let's see. Resolution value label. Aspect ratio refresh rate value label. Full screen VC value label. Yeah. Give me a second. It has to think. Alright. Let's see here. So I'm going to, for now, go ahead and just turn this off. Turn this off. Go ahead and save. And what it should do now is when I turn on VSync, it should automatically adjust the frame rate value. We don't actually care if it resets, or we don't actually need it to reset the value for the frame rate when we turn VSync off. We can just leave it at unlimited. But we do need it to hard set it if options display. Okay, so if I set this to on, okay, so that's that. But then we need to set this to be locked if VSync is on. So that means we're going to do a couple of things. One, let's see here. Am I just doing a get component? Yep. Well, that's terrible. Let's go ahead and cache those things, because why wouldn't I? Let's go ahead and we're just going to say, I guess I could serialize it, but I don't really care. We'll just do it at runtime. Never mind though. That I won't. There's no reason for us to have the extra garbage if I can just do it here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and say serialize field private text mesh pro UGUI. Make that an array, and this is just gonna be our. I believe that's our refresh rate labels. What's new? Let's go ahead and come back down here. We're going to paste this down here, and this is just going to be our frame rate labels. Okay. So I believe it was somewhere right about here. So refresh labels, blah, blah, blah. So all we're going to do here is just say for int I equals 0, I is less than refresh labels length plus refresh labels I dot color is equal to, and I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to make this just a default value that we have so that it's a little easier for us to use. So all I'm going to do there is just come down to here. I'm just going to say private color disabled label color is equal to this. Okay. Grab that. Come back down here. Is equal to that. Then we can get rid of this. Oh, right. Sorry. Okay. Graphic. It's interesting that we have that. Let's go ahead and copy this. Pretty much going to be the same thing. Refresh background. Why would I do it like that? It seems like, for all intents and purposes, this would be the fine way to go. Okay. So we'll let that go, and then we pretty much have to do something similar. Let's see. So we want to do something similar to this with our regular frame rate labels. Well, hello, William. Thank you for the raid. How are you all doing today? We're currently dealing with a couple of minor fixes to our display options menu, and then we're going to move on to Fmod audio stuff. So, also apologies for my voice. I've been recovering from the consumption. Anyway, so we have our refresh rate labels actually refreshing in a way that is not terrible now. So we just have to do pretty much the same thing for our frame rate labels. So let's go ahead, and I guess what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say if vsync is greater than 0, then we're just going to go ahead and iterate through this. This is going to be our frame rate labels this, grab that. Otherwise, pretty much going to do the opposite and just set them to be white, color white. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and on our vsync clicked function, we're pretty much going to do the exact same thing. It's going to come through here, and then we're going to say else. We'll come through here and say color.white. Okay, so that should more or less be what we want to do. Oh, and actually I do need to do this. I'm going to go ahead and say frame rate button dot interactable is equal to false. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I'm going to paste this in here so that be true. All right, and that means that I do actually need to come up to here as well and set that up. So if it's greater than 1, we're going to be false, and if it's not, we're going to say true. Okay. All right. So that should more or less be all the code that we need for that. And then we should be good. I'll probably want to change my description a little bit for certain options just to make it a little more forthcoming with what's happening. Excuse me. Still got a little bit of the disease, admittedly. But I'm back to like 95% by now, I think. I don't know what I caught, but it was terrible. I can tell you that. All right, turn on our UI again. Turn this on. We need to assign our labels here. So we're going to go to content grid, refresh rate. So we're going to do both of these. Okay, go ahead and turn that off. Then we're going to do something similar for frame rate. We have our section and then our value label. That's all we really care about. That's pretty much all we had to do here. Let's see. Excuse me. Lock the lower frame rates to improve performance. Maybe I should say to stabilize performance, I guess. Except I can't spell stabilize, apparently. It's stabilize, of course. It's a good thing I don't have to know how to spell anything. I'm not working on a game where that's important at all. Okay, so let's see, lock at lower frame rates to stabilize performance, and then vertical or vsync enable or disable vertical sync helps prevent screen tearing. I want to put something in there about like cannot lock frames while active, but maybe it'll be fine since people will have it automatically be grayed out for them. It's a usability thing. We'll just let it go like that for now. So let's go ahead and turn off our root. Let's hit apply. Okay, minimize that. Turn off our UI. Hit save. Now let's see how things look. Yeah, the plague was not very fun. I can definitely tell you that. How are you doing tonight, Garrett? Hopefully well. Hopefully not sick. All right. Let's go ahead and come over here. Say start options display. Okay, so we're getting all of this. And of course, stabilize makes it too long, so we can't do that. Adjust the frame rate the game will run at. Lock. So if I do this and this, okay, cool. So if we do set that up, then we instantly get it set to unlimited. All right, that's good. I like that. Okay, let's go ahead and set that to that. Let's stop playing. Let's real quick go back here to our display options. I'm just going to change my description here. Let's see. Adjust the frame rate the game will run at. I guess I could say lock the frame rate the game will run at. So we'll say, jeez, this is terrible. Just the target frame rate the game will run at. Lock it lower frame rates to stabilize performance. I guess I would say something like set to lower values to stabilize performance. So I guess I could do that. Let's do this. Okay, let's see what that looks like real quick, and then I think we'll be good. Doing okay, haven't gotten sick this year. All that staying away from people thing is paying off. That is a good way to do it. There was no shortage of people interactions at GDC this year. It was quite crowded. And that hall was ridiculous this year because they finally finished up all the construction, which helps prevent screen tearing. That's good. Adjust the target frame rate the game will run at. Set to lower values to stabilize performance. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so we do have it set up so that when you have VSync on, it locks the frame rate to unlimited and makes it uninteractable, which is kind of what we want, so that because that's how VSync works. All right, cool. Let's go. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and move on to our next thing, which is fixing these issues. So our main problem with Fmod is that we need to add an Fmod Studio listener. If I drag in my prefab for the player, give me a second here. Prefabs, player. Don't know if I probably should. Okay. So if we drag this in and we look at our main camera, you'll see that I have a studio listener script, which is our, it's basically the thing that is listening for Fmod sounds. And what we need to do is I'm probably going to increase this listener index quite a bit to, probably I'll make it the max at 8. But in all seriousness, I'm going to actually delete this. And then I'm going to select this, do it this way. It'll be easier that way. I'm just going to max that out. And all I really need to do, I believe, is I just need to have studio listeners on all of my cameras, essentially. So let's go ahead and select our UI here, grab our UI camera. We do not need to worry about that. I can turn that off. I'm going to, so we already have a studio listener here, listener index of 5. Let's go ahead and save that. And then I'm going to jump over to the castle scene real quick. And I'm going to add some sound listeners to those cameras. You need multiple listeners in Fmod. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm just getting the priorities set up. So I believe we want menu cameras. And I think this is our main problem. Let's go ahead and I'm going to select the prefab for this. Might as well do that. And we are real quick just going to go ahead and add a studio listener. Okay. Just going to drag that up to here. And I honestly think I can leave this listener index at 0. I don't think I have to worry about it. So the UI camera has a listener index of 5. The main player camera has the highest index value of 8. And then our individual cameras here will have index of 0 because they're pretty low priority. Pretty much they're going to be taken over as soon as the hero spawns in, basically. Multiple cameras. So the cameras are not on all the time. They're only on for menus. So if I go ahead and play, when you load into the main menu scene, it pulls whatever level was active from the most recent save file. Think basically like how Half-Life 2's menu worked. Um, and basically what it does is it just like loads that scene in the background, so that when you want to continue, you can just go ahead and like load instantly in. You don't have to actually go through a loading screen because it was happening in the background. Um, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause. Did that fix my problems? That did not. How curious. I wonder if it's because of... Well, hmm. Okay, it might be because of something stupid. So if we go to our menu cameras, make sure they have those on there. They totally do. But you can see that only one of these cameras is on at any given time. And that's because that's just how I set up the camera system for this. It's essentially just these get turned on while the main menu is loaded, and then they get turned off when you actually load into the scene. So let's go ahead and stop playing. I think this initial error might actually be from here. So maybe if I just throw on a studio listener here, we'll be fine. So let's try deleting or clearing those out. Let's hit save. Because that error could have just been because the initial splash fade scene doesn't actually have any need for cameras. I still have one, just for... Okay, that's interesting. So we still got it. Let's turn this off. Interesting. We still have those errors coming through. But I don't know why. Um, hmm. Well, let's keep maximize on play turned off. Let's try clearing this, and let's see if it happens right away. Because I'm not really sure why it would be doing this. Hmm. I'm... Well, no. You're not telling me where you're coming from. Listener is greater or equal to 0, and listener is less than the number of listeners failed. I don't suppose you'll let me... Here we are. If my result debug callback. Debug error. Well, this isn't ideal. I mean, these errors don't actually hurt me any, but I'd like to get rid of them. Um, I'm not entirely sure why it's not really doing what I want. Um, However, there is something else we can do because we're in the sewers here, which is the sector audio system, which I think essentially just means that I need to do a similar thing with my menus here where I basically add a sector listener, I think is what it's called. So if I get rid of this, let's see. Are you cool? Yeah, audio. There should be like a sector. Okay. Well, what are you working? What are you looking for? Sector audio system audio. Order demo calling. Blah 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 blah. Well, that's curious. Well, let's find out. Hold on. Come over to here. Studio, screenshot tools, sector audio system. There we go. Which I'm reasonably sure I need to be everything else on here. I'm just hopeful that it won't break. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to copy this component. We're going to go ahead and stop playing. I am going to grab my main menu camera prefab here. We're going to go ahead and paste component as new. Man, being a sector member, I don't really know if I care about that. that should fix those camera issues. Let's see if that at the very least fixed our sector problem. I'm hopeful that it will, but we'll find out. And then we'll try to hunt down that fmod problem. Let's clear this out. Okay, so the fmods, or not the fmod, sorry, the sector stuff is working now. And the question there is, I need to continue real quick to make sure that that functions as I would expect. So you can hear the sound of the running water. That's the sector audio. If we hit continue. Okay, so that does seem to work. Fmod then throws an index out of range exception. Oh dear, and it is spamming. Okay. Question, why? I'm going to assume it's the UI camera, because that's here, but why would it be throwing so many errors? That's not good. Yeah. Indeed they are. Also, hello, Bobby. How are you doing today? Yeah, I hate index out of range exceptions. I especially hate errors from third-party assets because I'm not entirely sure why this is happening. So I guess we can go all the way to Studio Listener 31 to try and find this. And we have this, which is never great. Let's see where that's coming from. Has listener number. Are you telling me that... Is this number not assigned properly? Because it looks like it's never really... Wait, listener number? Oh, perhaps... Oh. Oh no. Don't do that. Don't be like that. Oh no. Okay. So that listener index isn't actually a what's the term? It's not a priority. It's just what its index is. Oh, gross. That's not okay. Oh, that's terrible. Okay. Gross. So that means that it's not as simple as just setting it to be the highest value. I instead have to carefully manage these values. Oh, that's so gross. Great. So that means that I need to set them all to be 0 and turn them on and off, as I would expect. Maybe that's what the problem is. So let's do that. Oh, that is so gross. Do you see the proposal to add more descriptive text to index out of range exceptions in Java? I was like, all right, they can change the language. It'll save everyone millions of hours. Oh, jeez. That would be nice. I mean, I guess C#'s index out of range exceptions aren't terrible. I mean, they're annoying. Mostly because whenever they get fired, you can't, 9 times out of 10, you can't actually double click like that. Although maybe Unity might actually have that now. Because I remember it used to be if you had an index out of range exception, double clicking on the console wouldn't actually get you anywhere. You would have to just manually look at the stack trace and try to reverse engineer it to where you needed it to go. That's because technically the actual problem is a system level problem, not like a C# project level problem. But yeah, it is an annoying thing to hunt down, and it's been a while since I've had to do Java stuff with it. I don't actually remember how the error reporting in Java is. I guess that comes down to the IDE somewhat, because I remember Eclipse was pretty awful to work with. the very least, I hated working with it. Okay, so yeah, we definitely have to set these values up a little bit better. So that's an index, which sucks because that means that these numbers have to be exact. And, jeez. I don't know if I want my UI camera to have one of these then. Excuse me. Um, but I guess it kind of has to. That really sucks. Jeez. It means that I have to. Gross. Okay. Let me think. How do I have to do this? For sure, but language designers need to think more about error messages as a UI design issue. Yeah. Well, I think the problem there, right, is that a lot of people developing the languages are hardcore programmers, which typically means that they're working in consoles, and they just do not care 9 times out of 10. I guess that's unfair. They do care. It's just that they're used to less user friendly interfaces. Um, okay, so for this, um, since listener index is apparently an index, can I do anything with this? Fmod constants max listeners. Okay, so maybe not? Question mark. It looks like it straight up actually has it be initialized to be the max, and then it just determines if it's listening based off of this. Well, that sucks. Okay, that means that this game object. Maybe I want them all to be 0? Question mark. God, that's terrible. Oh, this is awful. Okay, because this is purely based off of studio listener. Okay, I'm just gonna write my own script. This will probably be an easier thing for me to do. Probably be much easier. So, hmm. Even in consoles, it's an interface. Very true. So let's go ahead and see. Yeah, I'm just gonna write my own script for this. So let's go ahead and go to an fmod folder. Where are you? Audio fmod. So we're just gonna call this fmod listener, I guess? Question mark. Because that's not what it's called already. Yep. So we're just gonna create this C# script. We're just gonna say fmod audio listener. All right. So we're probably going to have it be largely similar to what Studio Listener is doing. It's just not going to be done in on enable and on disable, I guess. Except I probably should actually have those in there as safety features. So let's go ahead and so we're going to need to say using fmod unity. Okay, this is going to be sleepyOwl text quest. I suppose we can also go ahead and say using sleepyowl.common. It's going to be an SOS mono behavior. And then we're going to go ahead and say private void on enable and private void on disable. Are they doing anything in update? Why? Whatever. Okay, sure. So they do have to do something in update, which sucks, but it is what it is. Private void update. Okay, and we're going to come up to here. We're going to say private void set listener location. I don't think we need to worry about this rigid body. That is awkward as hell. So it's going to be null forever, which is weird, but okay. Um, so we're just going to go ahead and say runtime manager dot set listener location, and we need to give it the number. So this is a priority, I guess. So we're going to go ahead and say serialized field private int. I guess it should be index because that's what it's called. Listener index is equal to 0. Let's go ahead and make this a range from 0 to 8. Okay, so this is going to be listener index followed by game object. And I think we can leave everything else out because we don't really need it. Okay, and that's going to be called from update. So set listener location. And from here, I believe it was runtime manager dot has listener, I think, and then listener index is equal to true. Yeah, okay, fine. Let's go ahead and paste that. That's going to be equal to false, I guess. So this is essentially what I'm doing in force library order. Apparently I need to do that. So let's go ahead and call that on enable, I guess. And I think we're good. So this is like a more cleaned up version of what they were doing, although it's essentially just doing the exact same thing. So there doesn't really seem to be a good way for me to do this. So I guess what I'm going to do is say public void cough. I guess I would call this like enable listener. It's gross. Set active. Nope. Enable listener. I hate that so much, but I guess it's gonna do what I do. Okay. So for this, we're going to just call a bool. We're going to say enable. Okay. And then we're just going to copy this. We're going to say enable listener true. Okay. We're going to say if enable. Are you serious? Come on, work with me here. Paste that in. Else, we're going to do this. Okay. We're going to say enable listener false. Same thing here. So now I have a public way of enabling and disabling these listeners. I am going to have a private bool check here. So we're going to say private bool is active is equal to false. So we're going to say is active is equal to. Actually, let's just do this the easy way. We're going to say is active is equal to enable. And then we're going to say in update if is active. Okay. So that should now let me basically control this a little bit better. And actually, I'm also going to go ahead and say serialized field tooltip private bool set active on enable false. If true, will automatically set the listener active when the object is enabled. Okay. here, I'm going to go ahead and say if set active on enable. All right. So that should prevent me from having too much of it being out of my hands, and it should make me a little bit more able to control it. Let's see, if is active, that's all good. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to, I guess I'll just go ahead and say add component menu. What do I want to do here? I guess I'll say text quest audio fmod fmod audio listener. Okay, so let's go ahead and let that compile. So I should be able to control it a little more fine-tuned now, but I don't think that's going to solve my underlying problems. So we'll let that compile real quick. Because Unity needs to think. Trying to think of anything really exciting that's happened in the gaming world recently. There's apparently quite a tell-all article written by Kotaku about Anthem's troubled development. I think that was posted today, and I haven't seen the fallout from it, but apparently EA and BioWare are trying pretty hard to kind of repudiate the claims in it. But given the substance of the article, it seems very much in line with what you would expect from AAA companies doing for to their workforces. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. I believe the summary of the article was basically like it was terrible, and apparently Frostbite, the in-house engine that EA is trying to force all of its developers to use, is just awful to work with. So I'm going to turn this to set active on enable. We'll have a listener index of 0. Let's go ahead and remove this. Select our UI camera. We will add this. Set that to 5. Remove that. I don't know if I want this to be active on enable, but I guess I'll let it go. Okay, and then I'm going to need to go to my player character. Do the same thing. Crank that up to 8. Remove that. That one I'm comfortable setting to active on enable. And finally, we do it on our main camera here. And once we do that, we'll have replaced all of the default scripts with mine. This gets a little more difficult just because now I think I need to keep track of, well, do I really need to worry about it, or can I just leave it alone? Let's run through and see how things look. I'm gonna guess that everything will be pretty much the exact same, in the sense that we'll get the same errors, and it will just be a matter of like, do I have to figure out? Oh, well, we don't have 2 anymore. We only got the 1, so cool. Let's see. Okay, listener is greater than or equal to 0, and listener is less than the number of listeners, which means that's not correct. Crap. So perhaps that means I need to be more judicious with my indexes. So what if I did this? Let's make our hero 1. Let's make this 3. Or 2, I'm sorry. Let's go back to our UI, which I will set to 1. Because now I should have basically 3. And those would be the menu camera, the UI, and what's it called? The player character. Which actually means that I probably want it to be 2. So let's try that. So we're actually going to set the UI camera to be indexed at 0, I think, and our player will be indexed at 1. That should, I think, stop it from being stupid. I say that like that was needlessly aggressive. I just don't like that this error is not particularly clear. I do kind of feel like it is a problem in the sense that it's an indexing problem. Yep, that was it. So, although I don't know why we're still getting this. Let's see if I can get anything useful out of that. Not has all listeners mean constants max found listener has listened. Found listener. True. I has listened. Okay. So, good God, why is this an update? Of course it is. Okay, so we've eliminated 2 of our problems, but we still have 1 frame where it's kind of wonky. I'm a little worried that this might be because of... Well, that wouldn't make sense. The first scene has one. Well, we fixed the errors, at least. Now it's a matter of trying to fix this warning. Harumph, harumph, harumph. I despise trying to debug third-party tools. Okay, so please add an Fmod Studio Listener component to your camera at the scene. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and pause, and let's go ahead and go frame by frame. See when that crops up. If it happens instantly, then I really don't know what I can do. Just because that does not make sense. Okay, good. It does not show up right away. Okay, we're going to let it go. There. Okay. Interesting. Is it just because for that 1 frame it has a new scene and it's not registering that this UI camera has one? That to me would kind of make sense. It is hard to say though. Go ahead and stop playing. I'm going to change my audio listener code here to say if this is active, then we're going to call enable listener false. Because it could be that it is correct, but it's having that audio listener disabled because of the camera in this scene. Let's find out. Oh, that might not actually matter. Well, let's go ahead and play nonetheless. Let's go back to our console. Eventually. Okay, let's clear that. Hit play. Yeah, so that error comes in as soon as the main menu loads in. It only happens for one frame. I am assuming it's because in that one frame we get um, our camera to deload its listener, and since it shares the same index with our UI, that gets a little weird. I'm assuming that means that the UI's camera is basically delisted currently, which is not great, but it might be okay. Really don't like that though. I'm probably going to have to figure out how to do that. So, because I think what I want to do is I want to basically turn off the listener on the camera in the original scene, and then once I do that, turn this one on. It's just gross that that's what I have to do. I really, really, really don't want to do that. I would prefer that it automatically manages itself, but that's clearly not going to happen. Um, Still, though, we have reduced it by about 4 error/warning counts. Um, let me think. What would be the best way to handle this? Because the problem is apparently that it's basically either missing a listener or it is basically. I'm assuming that actually is it. It has to be. It had a listener and then it does not anymore. So, crap. Let's go ahead and turn this off. I guess that means that I should do this in a very stupid way. Okay. So I'm going to grab my UI here. Do this. I'm going to turn off set active on enable. Um, Boy, I really don't want to do this because I don't want to have to add that to my UI. All right. Yeah, it's gross. Very gross. Okay, so I'm going to grab the splash delay. We're going to throw some garbage logic on here and see what I can do here. So let's go ahead and come back down here. We're just going to say UI dot, can I do, nope. Cool. So we're going to say view canvas. Canvas. The root canvas for the UI, which I believe is actually the root of itself. Yes, it is. Cool. Which means that I get to do the incredibly gross thing of doing this. Dot get component in children fmod audio listener dot enable listener true. That is disgusting on all levels. You have no idea. So with that, I'm going to need to come up here and do something gross as well. Ugh, I hate this so much. We're going to go ahead and say public fmod audio listener. I'm just curious to see if this will get it to look correct, or rather to stop throwing that error. So we're going to say fmod audio, we'll just call it fmod listener. Okay, all we're going to do is just say fmod dot let's see if this works. I have my doubts, but you never know. Okay, so let that compile. While that's happening, I'm going to take a drink. That is pretty good. Oof. Yeah, I always enjoy finding old bits of code that I didn't have a use for at the time, but seemed like they would be useful, and then later on it's like, oh, this does exactly what I need to. Yeah, that's a very fun feeling. How were you? What did the code help you solve? Okay, so we're gonna do this. Oh, look at that! Boom! Called it. So I fixed it. Ah, frack. So yeah, okay. Um, yeah, that means that I have to enable and disable them as appropriate. Otherwise, it will freak out. Of course. So